Welcome back, reference getters. Today on our dive into Pokemon spin-off territory, we reach Pokemon Rumble. Yes, the original that cannot be purchased anymore because apparently game preservation's not important. Ignoring the gaming industry's biggest issue, Pokemon Rumble would later go on and start its own series as a spin-off that amongst the community, I've never really heard people even talk about. So today we'll be looking at the original game critically to see whether or not it's a diamond in the rough or just that forgettable. So your timestamps are on screen, I'm forgetting to tell you to subscribe and that annoying stuff, and now let's begin. So where else to begin but the gameplay? So as a Pokemon spin-off and an action game, am I reading this right? A design that would come off as and is pretty removed from the mainline games. So as such, the game worked in some inspiration from the mainline games in terms of a Pokemon's abilities to give us a somewhat recognizable feel. But how is the game's gameplay structured? Well, it's weird to word, but I'll try my best. The game sees you playing through levels, knocking out Pokemon through a fixed camera angle third-person experience. Playing through each of the main levels, you are granted 3 lives and battles throughout the hordes of Pokemon while trying to recruit them and beat the area's boss. Or the battle archetype, the Battle Royale experience, that involves you taking out every Pokemon to be the last man standing, while defeating the strong foes that serve as mini-bosses. Ultimately, the game provides 2 pieces of core gameplay that work well to contrast each other, with different goals in mind. While one is where you'll be for the bulk of the game for Pokemon collection, the other one serves as your big build-up to the true boss fight experience. Can it get repetitive? Yes, absolutely. Mostly because the game's progression has you go through 2 separate runs of 4 Battle Royale build-ups and throwdowns in order to reach the credits twice. These are both the normal and advanced modes from the main menu. Normal's dedicated to the Pokemon of Generation 1, yes, all 150 of them, while advanced focused on a mix of Generation 1 and 4 Pokemon with more of a focus on the latter. But mister, what about the Generations 2 and 3 Pokemon? Well, not a single one is in the game, even though it feels like some of them absolutely should be, but just are not. Upon beating Normal, Advanced will be unlocked, and upon beating Advanced, EX will be unlocked. This one drags in all the Pokemon from the game and allows you to get them at some kind of mastery power level, functioning as the game's final endgame content, as the first 2 modes have 4 ranks of progression dividing them, with of course the Battle Royals being the barriers between them. However, whenever you enter a rank, you have to gather Pokemon as the rank that you'll be in will have a power limit required to enter the Battle Royal, which is a clear and easy to follow level curve. Progression, well done. However, enough of the modes itself, let's talk about your ability to play the game. Each and every Pokemon is able to move around, use up to 2 attacks in a moveset, and have the potential to have a trait which are just abilities to grant your Pokemon a quirk. Nothing much to it. Of course, some of these are better than others. Any Pokemon can randomly have one of them as well, which leads the big difference between the Pokemon besides stats and typings to be the move pools. But unlike the mainline games, the Pokemon in Pokemon Rumble cannot evolve, nor can they actually gain any form of levels, but they are able to get new attacks. And yet, even the combat system is simple, as there's no physical or special attacks, which is honestly fine and keeps the game extremely simple. But surprise! This ideology is something the rest of the series would continue, which is interesting considering it incentivizes actually playing the game to get the best Pokemon possible rather than building the best one possible from scratch. It's a complete 180 from what the franchise is known for, and honestly, I'm here for it. But frankly, that's most of what Pokemon Rumble provides in its base gameplay experience. Simple, yet effective. Okay, time for the side features. While an extremely limited list, everything here will be accessible through the main hub, just by going down, each in their own little structure. So in no particular order, we'll begin with multiplayer gameplay. Accessed from both the main menu and this structure in the hub, you're able to play with up to 4 players. When in multiplayer, the entire team shares their lives, and in the regular stages when changing Pokemon, all players can do so at the same time, which makes sense as to why the game doesn't actually pause during a switch. Speaking of stuff capable of changing gameplay, next is the Blue House. Here you can get rid of any of your unwanted Pokemon and get some money back. Probably the building you'll be using the most, as having filler isn't always the most thrilling aspect. And of course, that money can always be funneled into something more useful. But under certain circumstances when releasing Pokemon, you can get a ticket to be used at the Red House. This being the recruitment center, where you can buy random Pokemon for money, which sucks and you shouldn't do, or use a ticket to get a specific Pokemon, some of which can only be obtained in this way. or using passwords that, surprise, get specific rare Pokemon with the potential for otherwise unobtainable forms. Moving on, we have whatever this wheel is, essentially being a move tutor. You hand it money and it gives you a random attack for your current Pokemon that they can learn. Simple stuff, although it's a shame it has to be let up to chance. And next is the best feature in the game, the Wii Remote. Going here allows you to move a Pokemon from the game to a Wii Remote and vice versa, allowing you to take the Pokemon onto another system or save file and use them there. However, there's a hidden drawback that applies here, and to the Red House as well, and that is the fact that any Pokemon obtained from these methods will have their power level scaled down to 1 point below the current requirement needed to do the Battle Royale, which is gating your current progression, and of course the level will scale back up as you beat more of the Battle Royals. Now with that said, if you've beaten the game, this isn't an issue at all. Ultimately, this will allow you to still have true game progression from start to finish by not allowing you to break the game's difficulty from the first minute of playtime, even if it makes entering a new rank immediately more easy. Regardless, in the hub, the last two buildings really don't impact the gameplay too much. One essentially being this game's Pokédex, and the other tracking your gameplay stats. That's really it. Just a final minor note to mention. This game was the only occurrence in the Spinoff series to include natively obtainable shiny Pokemon, which of course for collectionists is always a fun grind. But frankly, this is all there is to Pokemon Rumble's gameplay. While it's short, it does everything it needs to, making the game feel complete. And as for a WiiWare game, that's a pretty big trait to have. So how else will we even close this video out but the story? Because yeah, there's not much to it. As the game opens, you get introduced to the world of the toy Pokemon, and the Battle Royal in which they compete to see who's the strongest. And from here, the game has you control over Tata, who isn't supposed to be competing in the Battle Royal, but gets in anyways. And you get absolutely hammered in the process, in a battle that you're supposed to lose. Afterwards, you get thrown to the Lambs to recruit new Pokemon to win the Battle Royal, and proceed to the next rank, in which you do the same thing until you reach the S rank to fight the strongest foes and take that crown home, to be the strongest before repeating the process again with even stronger foes. Yeah, while the story hardly exists, it's still there to set up the basis for the gameplay, with small build-up tensions in between the ranks. Ultimately, it does the job it needs to, as again, all it does is service the gameplay, and with that being all there is to it. Like the mainline games, it's just nothing special, but it is nice to have a tutorial that will basically allow you to learn all the features of the game within the first 10 minutes. Now, with the story aside, I want to talk about the music and the game's art style, and for both, I can say, they're fine. For WiiWare quality, it's good for sure. Music itself has issues of not being enough in the variety department. In longer gameplay sessions, it can get a little repetitive, but that's really all. Again, it's not bad, just not enough of it. And for the art style, I can say it's quirky. The designs of the Pokemon themselves do sell the toy Pokemon aesthetic quite nicely, and the environments don't look half bad either. Overall, a good experience both the visual and audio departments alike. However, in the end, that was the end of our discussion. I swear, every time I come back to Pokemon Rumble, it surprises me with how well it's aged. It's a game that once again is only really hurt by its lack of content. While primitive in its content, it works well. While I'm short on words that aren't just repeating pretty good and aged well, it's just that. Generally difficult to critique because what it does, it doesn't do wrong. Would I say it's the greatest game ever made? No. Would I say it's the best in the series? No. I'd even argue it's the worst of the four from the gameplay presence alone. But that's not the topic of today. Much like the Battle Revolution video, giving the game a proper score out of 10 is pretty demanding given the game's scale. So once again, we'll skip out on that, and you can make your own conclusion. What I can say is, if you want a Pokemon experience that isn't like the mainline games, but is just simple to play, fast to finish, and not Mystery Dungeon, this is probably the place to go. And with that, I thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.